How's everybody doing today? Give a minute, let people file in. Whew, happy holidays. Let's see. Check on a few things. Uh, Give me one in the chat if you can hear me. Give me one in the chat if you can hear me. Let me see. Still struggle streaming. Still struggle streaming. So let's talk about Rite Aid. They try to do facial recognition and did it all wrong. So we're going to talk about that. I think that's kind of work from home and facial recognition is definitely one of my favorite subjects. Shout out to Morrison. I appreciate you. Appreciate you. You know how we do it. If you got any questions, tech or cybersecurity, put them in the box. Let me go check on my LinkedIn. You know, we struggling on LinkedIn though. So let me see what's going on. I did a little research, so maybe I'll do a little better today. So once again, happy holidays. Okay, I see me. Okay, I see me. Now I gotta figure out where is the job. I still can't find the chat over here on LinkedIn, but we're gonna keep it rolling. We're not gonna let PBO struggles um, mess up the show. Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me on LinkedIn. I see I had two people over there. Let's see what's going on. Let me check one thing and we're gonna get it started. As my mom would say, poor me. Trying to get it together. Okay, I see me over there. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I see me. See networking. I see Gabe helped me out a little bit. He gave me a subscribe or something over there. I still can't find the chat over there. I am gonna figure it out sooner or later. Let's get going though. Once again, you know how we do it. If you got any questions, cybersecurity. What's up, Jonathan R? Glad you could Blackjack. Hey people, I tried watching this on LinkedIn just now. It gives a first try, but the chat by glitch. So I'm sticking out. That's cool, Blackjack. I'm trying to figure it out over there. I can't even find the chat over there. So we're gonna make it work, man. PBO still working on it. He's doing a little better today over LinkedIn. Hopefully everybody have a good holiday. Where is this chat box, man? Say manage attendees. I got 3 attendees over there. Okay, I got some invites. Man, I do not know where the chat box is over here. Ooh, PBO show struggling on this holiday, but I'm glad y'all working with me, though. I'm glad y'all working with me. I'm gonna figure it out, man. Let's keep it pushing, man. Let's keep it pushing. So we're gonna get on. Play this quick CNBC article. Once again, I love facial recognition. I think we'd be overstepping with it too much. Obviously, we've been false identifying people, so which is not good. So we got to do a little better testing. So once again, I'm gonna switch over to the. So I'm gonna switch over to the CNBC. Play this quick video, and I'm gonna figure out what's going on over there on Polar LinkedIn, man. I'm trying. Let's see what my man said. Okay, boom, boom. Let's get it.
Rite Aid has to stop using facial recognition for the next 5 years. It's part of a privacy settlement with the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, which said that the pharmacy chain misused the technology to mistakenly tag consumers as shoplifters. It said Rite Aid used a facial recognition system at stores in large cities, including New York, Los Angeles.
It'd be interesting to see what that facial recognition system is. I dug around. I couldn't figure out whose system that is. So let's go through a quick chat. We're gonna get back on. Try to watch it. Yeah, I'm working on it once again, Blackjack. I'm trying to get my LinkedIn skills up. I'm struggling. The stream's working, but can I chat over there? Glitch. Okay, it's probably me, Blackjack. Maybe I didn't click the right button. I'm still trying to figure that out. At least I'm showing over there. Baby steps. Baby steps. Shout out to Before the Billions. Definitely go subscribe to him. I always kind of up and coming star on YouTube. Go check my man out. Man, I know. Shout out to my man Christopher. We always in the Discord chopping it up. So you saw where I gave you a shout out on the CMC, doing some good work. So let's see what we doing in Rite Aid, man. We falsely accusing people. What's going on?
Angeles and Baltimore without notifying customers. The system used low-quality images, often taken from security cameras, to create a database of alleged shoplifters and would then send alerts to employees when it flagged a match to a customer entering the store. The FTC said that system generated thousands of improper matches, often involving Black, Latino, and female customers. That led to employees following customers around the store, calling the police, or falsely accusing people of shoplifting. Rite Aid agreed not to use that technology.
Come on, man. You can't be falsely accusing people, man. Not the disadvantage, just following you around the store saying you're a bad guy. So we always talk about that. The good, the bad, and the ugly of technology and the great of technology. This is the ugly of technology, right? The sad part about it is they just really implemented it wrong. They didn't have policies and procedures, and they didn't do good testing. But let's keep going. Shout out to Rite Aid. We shutting them down
for 5 years, big of them, and delete the images that it has collected so far. But guys, I think this really brings up some of the problems that have come with this. I don't know if you've seen that the Dolan family has gotten in trouble with Madison Square Garden for using facial recognition to ban people that they didn't like from being allowed to come in the building. And I was thinking about it, Whole Foods, when you check out at Whole Foods, they're taking video of you the whole time. You can see your face looking back at you with the registers where you're checking yourself out with some of these things.
Whole Foods, I'm fine. I mean, it might be a little.
They haven't accused me of shoplifting.
Well, no, I might be embarrassed if I was buying, like, I don't know, kale or something. But drugstores just should not be a place where people are watching what you're doing. And I was just trying to come up with how many things I wouldn't want people to know that I'm shopping for. Drugstore. I mean, I go in.
I will admit, you top line me about this, and I will admit that when I go into some things for like CVS,
toe fungus, adult diapers, Viagra.
Come on now, but some things you do want private. There's me saluting myself on LinkedIn, so I'm doing a little something. I'm figuring it out, but let's keep going. Let's see. Shout out to my good friend Reddy in the house. Glad she could join. We're looking only one issue of facial recognition for security. No, that's a good point. That's a good point. Let's keep going. I'll probably have my man Tech RX come up if he's got a little time. I always defer to him. He's the AI expert in this in this sector of YouTube.
Preparation
hemorrhoids
just for men.
Pregnancy tests. There's a million things you would not want to have come back to you. And I will admit there are things that I've bought that I do not put my phone number into the database because I don't want them sending me the ads for coupons for more of this
drugstore stuff. Stay away from. I don't wear a mask anywhere, but when I go in the drugstore, I pull the hat down and wear a mask because I don't want people knowing who that is that's buying all these embarrassing. And I just for the record, I don't have toe fungus. I've never had toe fungus.
Preparation H. Oh, you said that compound W.
I like those things. Go ahead,
guys.
Yeah.
If two things. I assume I know Becky does. Joe may not, but we all order stuff on Amazon. If you ever look through the search history, both your search history, actually, by the way, search history of anything on Google. Just do your search history on Google or what you bought at Amazon over the last decade. And they know exactly what you're doing.
Facts. I always say we're gonna have this debate. I always say Amazon is the most dangerous company. Now I think they passed Google by the sheer amount of things they check on you and the sheer amount of companies they bought. Once again, Whole Foods, medicine companies now they're tracking you. They shipping you 3 months instead of 1 month. So I always said that I believe, and I'll probably do a video. Amazon is probably the most dangerous company.
Plus, but this is different. Go ahead.
Well, but there are these new Amazon stores where we've talked about this before.
Walk right
you
out.
Literally walk in, put your phone on the register as you're not on the register, but like on the door as you're walking in, and then the whole thing is just has cameras everywhere. I mean, millions of cameras, and it's looking at everything you're buying, and you literally walk out.
But this is, I think the Rite Aid case is different. Like, look, we've all given up on our privacy, and you're right. If you're using any of these online apps, if you're putting your phone number in for customer loyalty rewards, you're giving it all up anyway. They're watching these things. The problem with Rite Aid was these were low-resolution images. They were accusing people of being shoplifters and getting it wrong, which is completely slanderous, libel. I guess not libelous because you're not printing it, but slanderous. And then having employees follow them around the stores. Their problem was, I guess, the images weren't high quality enough. But yeah, I guess we've all given up our right to privacy.
Yeah.
Looking at the cameras, looking at the online.
Even if I give up my right to privacy, you still got to secure it and treat it properly, right? At least got to do due care so you won't seem negligent. Like you just throwing my privacy away, right? So I think that's one of the big issues with that. And so, of course, you know, we figuring it out. They figuring it out. Companies are getting better.
Tracking Google, of everything we do. Anyway.
Every Dateline. I mean, the guy. What are the best bone saws on the market right now?
That's how they catch people, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but they always look up stuff. You know, it's like you can't believe it. After
we have the guy who wrote the book that Google is the new God.
Do you remember
we tell Google everything, all our secrets.
There was a funny Brat Pack movie where the kid's going in to buy, you know, Trojans or something, and he buys 15 things. Oh yeah, and I got this and this and this and it. He doesn't need any of them. You know, candy. Right. He's got this and then finally, and these. But that's what it reminds me of. With anyway, coming up, we could do this for a while. I think you heard me mention Just for Men. I have never bought Just for Men. I want to go on the record and say that too. I've never done that. No hair dye.
You're more concerned about fessing up to that than toenail fungus?
Adult diapers. Never bought any of those, but
you send Penelope for those.
Yeah, there's still. Yeah, right. She coming up. No, thank you.
Penelope, can you pick this up for me while you're there?
Yeah, would you just? Yeah.
Well, for me, that was interesting. So with that, so let's dig into the article a little bit. Let's see what we got. Crew, there's no privacy in this day and age, but we trying to get, well, you know, you got to respect the privacy. But no, that's true. Should they at least have partial comply with HIPAA? No, the only time you have to comply with HIPAA is when the government's giving you federal payments, all right? So a lot of times the pharmacy aren't getting federal payments. The job you get gets the federal payments, then pay the pharmacy. So I think that's the loophole. I think the pharmacies got a touch, but a lot of regular stuff, unless you're getting government payments, you don't have to follow HIPAA, right? And that's why HIPAA gets to put those requirements on you. The thing that's brought up, and I mean, I think we talked about it actually in the study hall, is a lot of state and general attorneys are starting to put those requirements on business. But the government, if they're not paying you, then it's really not federal data, so you really don't have to comply with federal laws. Once again, most people know I do a lot of IRS work, so that's the same thing. If you don't get your data from the IRS or use it to qualify your state taxes, you don't have to comply with IRS Pub 1075. So let's skim over the article and see what they were kind of going over. I'm sure we probably listened to that. And then once again, if you got any questions, tech or cybersecurity, put them in the box. The weird thing is, why is the FTC proposed to bar Rite Aid from facial recognition software in the drugstore for 5 years, settle the allegations? It alleged between 2012 and 2020, Rite Aid deployed facial recognition technology in hundreds of retail pharmacies across the states in order to identify customers not previously deemed likely to be shoplifters or engaging in criminal activity. But the system generated thousands of false positive matches, according to the FTC. So that's one thing I think we need to get a handle on before you get Health and Hospital, FTC, Department of Homeland Security. Everybody, TSC was doing, when you go through the airport, they were doing security. So it seems like security in the United States is super fragmented, right? I think there should be one government agency oversight, and they could at least push it down to the other agencies, but at least have one government oversight agency. We have thousands of. But once again, I was kind of perplexed why the FTC was worrying about facial recognition. Those individuals were detained or searched by Rite Aid employees, subjected to increased surveillance, publicly accused of criminal activity, reported to the police, and in some cases banned from entering or making purchases at a Rite Aid store, allegedly by the FTC. Right, so that's a lot of things that happen when you're using faulty technology. So I think that's the big part of that. Right, a facial recognition technology was more likely to generate false positives. Stores located in predominantly Black and Asian neighborhoods than in predominantly white, where 80% of the Rite Aid stores are located. Rite Aid relied on facial technology from 2 undisclosed vendors. We need those vendors. Shout out to my man TechRX, and he brought this up on another live stream, and I always give him credit for it. Let me highlight him, see if he's still in the chat. Where he at? Where he at? Where he at? Where he at? Boom. There he is. We need to have those algorithms on the blockchain so people can review them. It don't have to be the public, but Biden just put out an AI executive order. Somebody needs to review these technologies and figure out if they're biased or even if they're working correctly, right? Even if they're not, somebody to review something on it, right? And he brought that up. So once again, I want to give him credit. We need to be able to look at those, and I know a lot of those are PI, proprietary information by those companies. That's how they make the money. But somebody needs to be able to review those somewhere on the blockchain or something to make sure that those are quality. And once again, like you said, partially comply with HIPAA. If HSS is not paying those bills for those medicals, then it doesn't apply. Now, I think it should compared to the FTC. Right. Let's see what my man said. Tom Cruise starring in the Minority Report. We're getting close. We're getting close. Right. So let's keep going. We're going to skim a little bit. The part of the proposed settlement, FT said Rite Aid must order third parties to delete images or photos collected by facial recognition, notify shoppers when biometric data is collected and used in connection with security or surveillance system, or among others. It would also require Rite Aid to permanently discontinue the use of technology if it can't control potential risk to customers. They already proved they can't control it, right? And 2 is, once again, you should have security requirements. We talk about NIST, CSF, CIS, HIPAA, FERPA. All of those are security requirements. So part of your facial recognition requirements got to be your picture's got to be in 4K at a certain level of quality. When you scan a picture, it tells you the level of quality it believes that picture's at. So a part of the check should be in your facial recognition again. What is the level of your quality of your pictures? Because that's what you use to identify people, right? So those should be at a certain level. So let's keep going. Let me check on my LinkedIn. I'm trying to do a little something on LinkedIn. I'm over there. I put something in the chat, so I don't know what I'm doing. I'm struggle streaming over there, but we got something in there. So once again, looking at the facial recognition, I got about 4 videos. I've been talking about this for 2 years. We might look at a few of those. So let's keep rolling. The allegation relates to facial recognition pilot program the company deployed in a limited number of stores, adding that it stopped using technology more than 3 years ago before the FTC initiated investigation. Here, privacy and civil liberties advocates continue to raise alarm around the use of facial recognition software, the need for further regulation. The technology has led to increased surveillance, and numerous studies have shown that artificial intelligence underpinning technology is more likely to misidentify people of color, leading to wrongful arrests. I think I got 3 videos where people were wrongly searched. We might peek at one of those real quick. The proposed settlement is subject to approval of the overseeing the Rite Aid. The drugstore is currently filing Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. So let's switch over to there it is. Boom, boom. This is the Reuters talking about the same article. They dug into a little deeper. So we're going to dig into that. Let's look at these comments. Looking forward to individual devices that assist in preventing electronic. They got a few actually. If you look out there, they got glasses that actually do that. You can always. Let me drop the link if anybody wants to come up. My man Ty wants to come up, so anybody could come up. Shout out to my man Engineering Cannabis, now Tech RX. Let me. Did I do that for this stream? Let me see if y'all can see the link. I put it in there. I don't know if it showed up though. So there's the link if anybody wants to come up. Let me see if y'all can see it. Let's see. Ty's there. Because I was actually looking at it's called Recognition. I did a video. AWS has their version of that. So that was kind of why I want to know which vendors were actually having problems to see which one of them once again were faulty. A lot of times it's not the software, it's the implementation, how you training it, right? There's a training component to that, that's coming up. So let's keep going on the Reuters and see what's going on. Let me see. What's up, Ty? Ty, can you hear me? What's up, Tech RX? Ty, can't hear you. Tech RX, aka Engineer Cannabis, can you hear me? Can any one of y'all hear me? I'm trying to figure out if it's me or you. Ooh. Text RX, can you hear me? Let's see, I got my chat. I can't hear either one of you guys. I don't. Yeah, facts. They can hear me. I can't hear one of y'all. I don't know. Maybe y'all need to switch your input and output. Sometimes that's kind of weird how Restream does that. I don't know if either one of y'all ever been up, but I can't hear either one of y'all. The chat so they can hear me. We're going to have to start making houses like Faraday. Oh, facts. That's funny. A Faraday cage. That's an old time thing. No, facts. That is a good point. We're doing a lot. You coming in the Lima, Charlie. Appreciate you. Text, all right. I can hear you, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. You can hear me now?
Yeah, you crystal clear, man. Shout out to you, man.
No problem. I saw the Rite Aid stuff. It's something not new. First thing is a false positive.
Right.
I always say with facial recognition, this is the problem with facial recognition. We humans, we change, our features change. And what the facial recognition doesn't, it doesn't look at the changes as we basically move. Our nose might shift, our eyes might get a little bit thinner, wrinkles might come in. So what facial recognition does is just takes the data, a snapshot of you, maybe when you're 21 or 22, and then when you come in, maybe you're a little bit older, it then tries to recognize you based on just a snapshot. But that's not possible because as you age, everything shifts. So facial recognition is only reliable if when the data is currently always updated. So if someone who's 21, each year he grows, that data is updated to actually know how to recognize that individual. But if the data is not updated, then there's a problem. It then gives you a lot of false positives. And that's where the issue is. Are they really updating this data? And secondly, they utilize this for security, but the utilization of facial recognition goes beyond security. For instance, if they give me this data, I can use it for a lot of things. I classify all the amount of people that are taking blood medication who come into the store. How many people take blood medication, blood pressure medication, diabetes? How do I utilize that to restock my supplies? How do I know which medications is popular based on facial recognition in terms of race? There's a lot of use cases for this. So look, Rite Aid is collecting a lot of data because there's a lot of use cases for this, and we can also track as with facial recognition and other data. We can also track the progression of diseases over time in terms of how many people come in and what diseases are they coming in for. Are we seeing people coming in lots of food allergies, a lot of environmental allergies? We can then there's a lot of use cases for this, and I think Rite Aid is just using it for security, but look at Amazon. If Amazon, they know the power of this technology. With this, I can start predicting basically age to age what likely medication you will need before you even need it, based on again facial recognition, based on the data you comes in, what you're purchasing in terms of what medication you're buying. Based on again, all that can be aligned and start predicting a lot of stuff. So Rite Aid is just using it for security, but the use cases is infantile. It's a lot. So again, the two scenarios is the false positive is they're not currently updating the data set itself, and this is what's happening in Navy Federal. They are using the same algorithms like these, but they're not updating the data sets to match economic principles. That's why you have a lot of problems.
Mm-hmm.
So it's there's a bad and a positive in it. So we just have to know how to balance it out.
No, that's cool. Is that your channel? I will give you a shout out. Put it. I don't know if you can see the screen, but
Yeah, that's my yeah, that's it.
go check out my man AI and ME Ash Engineering Cannabis Tech RX. He's got a lot of names, but this the guy called when it comes to this. I dabble in it. He do this in real life, so I just definitely want him to come up. So,
So,
I
so
guess for
yeah.
me, if your pictures have poor quality, you still gonna have poor quality identifying. So is there some check that says your pictures got to be in 4K, 90K, 10K, so you can have good quality,
So
so you can match
again,
them up? What's on that? What's on that? Go ahead, Klein, chime in on
it's
that.
is the data source again. All
Yep.
comes out to data source. It's if you have enough data source. Again, when I train my algorithms, I need to know if I have enough data source to actually identify if someone is that character or person. So does he have enough data source? Is it again quality of the data? Everything relies on the data source and where they're getting the data source. Again, if an individual, how do they know an individual is basically a criminal? Where do they get their data from? Is it from the DMV or is it from police records or is it from past criminals? So how do you identify where are they getting their data from to identify who are criminals or not? And how are they matching it? So there's a lot of issues in this. The problem is the data source. And I always tell anybody the key to any algorithm is the data source. Understanding that data source, knowing what that data source. That's why you will never see banks, Navy Federal. The question I always ask is, let me see your data. Because you remember the Navy Federal stuff was you had 44% black people denied, 77 were white people accepted, giving more mortgages, right? The question is within that 44%, what were the judging factors of that? What were the judging? And not only that, but look at the 77% too. What were the judging factors? Are they similar judging factors in terms of is it credit score? Is it debt to income ratio? If you can analyze that, but they will never give it to you. Navy Federal will rather jump in the lake and burn than give you that data. We can't hear you.
Yeah, real quick, I'm gonna interrupt you because you brought this up, and I always bring this up. Shouldn't we put those algorithms on a blockchain so somebody can review them? It doesn't have to be the competitors, but the government or somebody should be able to check those like you said, those particular data points for statistics to figure out what it is, so
They
we wouldn't
will
have
rather
bias.
die. They will rather die than give you that. Facebook will rather die and give you that algorithm. Everybody would rather die than give you that because at that point you open yourself to litigation. You
Facts.
open yourself to lawsuits because again, like every federal, if you give me that data set, I can tell you a lot of stuff that Navy Federal like. Rather, I'll pay you engineering. I'll pay you millions of dollars not to actually tell you that. I'll tell them, look, yeah, I'll take the millions of dollars. I'll keep quiet, but they would rather die before they give you that data set. I mean, rather die than give you that data set.
But we have government regulations on everything else at
No, no, we don't
some
have
level.
we don't have
So,
government. Again, we have. This is what I was talking about in my channel. We don't have regulations on data. There isn't
true.
any regulations on data. Your data is a wild, wild west.
True.
Right now, there's Senate hearings talking about algorithms, but black people ain't involved. I was watching those Senate hearings. There's no one black person in there talking about how those data sources or algorithms, how the bias. Nobody's black is there. It's more. So the question is, we are not there represented fully, but yet these algorithms are making decisions on our behalf that we don't even know what we're doing. I mean, algorithms currently are making decisions on facial recognition, banking information, all these, but we don't even ask the question, where are you getting this source data from? Can I see the analysis you did in terms of how can it be a whole year you didn't discover that you had a problem in terms of bias, in terms of your algorithm making decisions on 44% of black people? Are you monitoring this stuff? Nobody's asking that. I was surprised. I was like, I've been saying this all the time that
Yeah.
this is happening, but again, this is growing. We have hospitals now going to make decisions based on algorithms. Who's going to give you better care based on an algorithm, based on what judgment? You come in a hospital and I say you're going to get this care based on what? Is it based on your insurance, your income, your race? How am I going to use that algorithm to give you hospital care? And this is just, and we're playing, but this is happening now.
Quick
You
question
saw the
on
mortgage.
real quick. Brother Michael said it's no laws on data.
No, no long. Your data is free for all. I mean, the biggest industry. Do you know the most profitable industry in right now? It's not AI industry. Is data brokers. That's the most
Oh,
profitable. Data
right.
brokers make billions, almost trillions of dollars based on your data. Not the AI algorithms, but the data they use to train it. Data brokers are the most sort of money makers in the United States. Data brokers. Nobody's talking about that. Data brokers are they make billions out of your data. And they can use your politicians. Do you think this common politics, where you think they're gonna get most information to understand how to basically market to you if you're a Republican or Democrat? They're going straight to a data broker.
That's my
We
next
don't
video. Wow, that's my next video too. Keep going. I got a video coming up about that. So that's funny. Keep going. So,
we have no clue what's going on. And it's funny that we leave all the decisions on algorithms, but we don't understand what algorithms are. And it's becoming faster. I started learning quantum computing, and the amount
yeah.
of the more decisions it makes, the more it impacts you. If I can make decisions faster to know if this individual is a criminal quicker with a Rite Aid using quantum computing, don't you think it's going to impact you more?
Yeah.
It's going to make now I can make faster decisions based on biased data that we don't even know what's going on.
Yeah, let me chime in on that. And a lot of people don't know what a black swan event is. That's something that's really bad. But what happened? Quantum computers so quick. If all I'm doing the same calculation algorithms, the market's going to drop at a phenomenally quick pace before you even realize it, because everybody's trading with electronic trading. So it's going to be
I,
crazy.
I've done that scenario in terms of what quant. That's what I'm doing. That's why I'm learning quantum computing. I'm even learning economics with CPA. I'm trying to get my CPA license.
Okay.
But quantum computing, imagine someone able to trade faster than a normal trader.
Mm-hmm.
You're trading just even milliseconds faster than a normal trader. Imagine a trade in one day you can make 80 million. Do you know how fast you can tank the whole stock market
The whole
by making
economy.
the whole economy by making trades faster than using quantum computing. But the problem right now with quantum computing is stability. There's a lot of problems, but
Yeah.
once you understand how powerful algorithms, machine learning, mixed with quantum computing, I'm telling you, your eyes will be wide open. Like, okay, this is what's going on. I need to be in this area so I can. But understanding that the algorithms are going to be thinking 10 times faster than any normal human, making decisions, error functions, all that faster than any human. What do you think is going to happen? So right now, this Rite Aid is just a glimpse of what's going on. Glimpse. This is just a glimpse. Navy Federal, Rite Aid, all that is just a glimpse. It's not the true impact. More impacts are coming. But the question is it going to be a positive impact? Or are we going to continue going to see these negative impacts where we see, again, problems with banking, problems with basically having criminal records, basically being arrested falsely, or are we going to see issues in hospitals? Are we going to see issues more there's a lot of issues. But the funny part is we're not in the rooms where the decisions are being made. A Senate hearing about AI, there was no black person or people of color in a Senate hearing about algorithms. That's a
Facts.
problem.
Well, too, though, and you brought it up, and we all talk about it in there. That's just not sexy. So we're not even in that type of schooling. I mean, the average person's not even in that type, right? That's a top level of the pyramid. You know, I'm always talking about Maslow's pyramid. That's the top of the pyramid.
You call it top, well, we call it the top, but if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Oh,
If
I
I can,
feel you. I'm with you. I said that about cybersecurity, but we're not there, man. We're still talking about, relationships and all that other stuff, man. Which is
but the problem, they fucked
fascinating.
up
Go ahead.
the messed up part, even the relationships, they're using algorithms for us for relationships.
Oh, facts, facts, facts.
So what are we talking about? The relationships areas, social scientists are now using algorithms to determine who's the best mate to give you based on, again, not only physical but genetics and all that. Then we take all that and factor in and say who's the best mate based on those things. Attraction, all that good stuff. They're using algorithms right now. So what are we talking about? Are we still going to be affected in such a way where we come in and say, oh, we're affected by mortgage rates. So hey, AI is discriminating us based on facial recognition. But the question is, do you understand what's going on with the AI? Do you have the questions? Okay, it's affecting you. Tell me what questions you need to ask in order for we to address what issues you have. It's just he's giving us wrong information based on what you can't answer those questions. I can. I'll tell you. Look at the source data. Understand what's going on. Can I see your bias? Can I see your truth? Can I see all your analysis, the precision, accuracy of your algorithms? Can I see that algorithm itself? The algorithms are just mathematical equations that are built on new processing speed of GPUs and soon quantum computing. That's it. Understanding those baseline right now is the key. But we're not doing that.
Give me 1 second, Tech RX. Yeah, B2B, you can come up whenever. I'm gonna be here for a minute. Let me read these couple paragraphs right there. I don't know if you can see the screen, and that's kind of what I'll be talking about. The United States, the Orwellian surveillance. Facial recognition technology has become highly controversial in the United States as it has expanded to both public and private sectors, including by law enforcement and retailers. Civil liberties advocates warn it can lead to harassment of innocent individuals, arbitrary and discriminatory arrests, infringements of privacy rights, and chilled personal expression. Adding to these concerns, recent research by the United States Institute showed that algorithms that underpin the technology erred more often when subjects had darker skin. Facial recognition are largely unregulated in the United States, despite disclosure or consent requirements or limits on government use in several states, including California, Washington, Texas, Illinois. Some cities, including San Francisco, ban municipal officials from using them. In general, the technology makes photos and videos more readily searchable, allowing retailers almost instantaneous facial comparison within and across stores. So I'm gonna let you chime in on that's kind of what we were talking about. There's really no regulation. You kind of do what you want. The Orwellian, right? We know that story, right? Or the Orwell big surveillance. We getting there, right? And now people are putting cameras downtown. They're putting cameras on drones. So I don't know. I don't think people realize how much surveillance is going on. Chime in on that, RX. I'm gonna let you chime in on that. Well, I think he maybe took a break. I'll keep reading. Let's see what they got. Among the systems used by Rite Aid, one was from, okay, we got the niche Deep Cam LLC, which worked with a firm in China whose largest outside investor is the Chinese government fund. Some security experts said any program with connections to China was troubling because it could be an open door to aggressive surveillance in the United States, more typical of an autocratic state. Now, China's got some of the best surveillance. They were actually taking people's temperature in COVID with their surveillance systems because they had an infrared vision on there. What's up, B2B? How you doing?
Doing well. How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing all right. Chime in on that. What you want with the Orwellian surveillance? What's your take on it?
Actually, I wanted to address something real quick
Yeah, you
that
can.
Engineer Cannabis said, and more so talking about the regulations on data. And it's true that, and I agree that there are no federal laws against data collection because it's more so on the state level. So it's going to be more so like one of the biggest ones is I think it's like CIPPA talking about California, and
Yep.
they have a law talking about you have to be able to allow people to, like, if you have a collection of data for the in like California,
Yep.
you have to allow people to be able to access that data and delete it.
Yep. And change it
And
to make it correct. Yep.
yeah, so change it. So that's just, there are some regulations, but I know what he's talking about the federal, on the federal side, I believe. So, and then also there's other instances of some regulation being brought up, such as in Europe, they are way more strict about about their data collection, particularly when they were saying that Facebook wouldn't be able to be put into the European Union because of their data collection. I believe it was the EU.
No, you're right. It's GDPR. In fact, GDPR is a
Yeah.
monster. I work with companies that do GDPR. That regulation is crazy. But keep going now. You're 100% correct. Shout out to
Yeah.
GDPR.
Yeah. So, but it is true that these companies, that data is money to them. They wouldn't want to They wouldn't want to have that data go anywhere because there's a lot of things that come with it. If you're collecting data, and then you lose it due to negligence or something like that, or get a hack, you have to pay the people back for having the data being breached or being deleted, specifically for like Equifax as an example.
Oh, facts.
And then also for hospitals with HIPAA data, I think they pay more.
They do.
For that data if it's unsecured.
Yeah, let me chime in on that. HIPAA has 4 levels, and that's what we talk about. If you're negligent, you pay, I think last time I looked, it was 1,024 per record. If you do what you're supposed to do and you do due care and you got hardened, but a nation state got you, I think it goes down to like $25 a record. So it depends on how negligent you are with those fines. Keep going.
A nation state. Okay. Go ahead.
And the HIPAA data, I always ask this question in terms of the algorithms. We talk of an algorithm that basically detects cancer cells in terms of basically X-ray. I always ask the question, where did they get that data to be able to train that model to be able to detect that cancer cell? Since HIPAA laws are really strict. Again, most people go outside the country to basically get these data sets to actually train your algorithms to actually detect cancer cells. Because again, HIPAA law is strict. So there are some, Europe has started in that basically have a lot of privacy laws in those. But again, US, the HIPAA law, but all the places outside the country, you can go in and say, okay, I need data sets on X-rays on glaucoma, or I need X-rays on data sets on this cancer, in terms of bladder cancer or any kind of cancer, so I can be able to train my model to detect any mutations in cells, any slight mutations in cells. So the question is, where are they getting those data sets from? Because I was working for a telehealth system, and I wanted to get data sets to actually train my model to do detection in terms of cell mutation. I couldn't get it here because of HIPAA laws. So they get it from other countries to basically see and train my models to do that. So there's a lot of issues in this, a lot of problems in this. But so you train your models from people out of the country, but the question is, do they have the same environmental and all that positions to know if the cells will mutate the same way it does? But they're using the same data sets and the same algorithms to detect cells. So there's a lot of questions in this, a lot of issues with this. And this is where the problem comes. Remember, algorithms are just built on data sets, the quality of the data sets. If you don't have good quality data, your algorithms are trash. And that's it.
Yeah, I want to also address how they actually acquired the data as well. In addition to getting it from undisclosed sources, like that's not from the U.S., there's also a lot of public data sets that's collected through other data entry purposes, such as, like, for an example, right, like getting people's COVID information, even though like it's more so like a medical type of question that you can ask. You have a lot of companies that ask for that information to see if you got vaccinated or not. And because you had to willingly give that information to these companies, they had that information as well. So they
Yeah,
collect it through other means. Like,
a lot of
"Oh, you can't get this.
surveys,
Yeah, you can't get this job unless you give us this information."
Facts, facts.
a lot
Especially
of
in the government.
surveys and all that stuff. Even banks, do you know banks are allowed to share their information with each other?
I can believe it.
Banks are allowed. So the question is, how did, like Navy Federal? I mean, I started doing investigation on Navy Federal. They can collect 10 years worth of information from everybody else from different banks based on if you're applying for credit cards and all that. You tell each person your income and all that. Banks are allowed to share information within each other to see and access your credibility in terms of getting a loan. So you think your loan is only being assessed based on credit debt ratio and all that for 2 years, but no, they have at least 10 years to see patterns in terms of your spending, in terms of your income, especially your income. Your income is the biggest um, variable in terms of getting a loan. If I have 10 years of your income and I see in the past 10 years your income is only risen by 5,000 each year, at that point you're a very high risk of not getting a mortgage because your income has only increased 5,000. It just shows a pattern that you're actually stagnant. But if
Mhm.
your income in the past 10 years, you've seen an increase of 10, 15, 20, you're a high candidate for getting a mortgage because they believe a 10-year pattern, you've seen your increase in the income, means, okay, I can give you a loan and you are basically risk adverse at that point.
It's interesting you bring that up because I'm thinking about how a regular person, right? Because we talking. It's I think it's more easy to see like somebody in the engineering or in the STEM fields be able to increase their income by like $10,000-$20,000
Facts, facts,
within a year.
facts.
Like maybe job hopping or something like that. But like for a regular person who's not in STEM to increase by that much, is it harder for them to get a loan?
Yeah, because again, you're not only judging that, but you're also judging marital factors. So when the individual got married, did their income increase too? So there are a lot of issues. I mean, even the algorithm used for credit score is false because it takes the algorithm for credit score and all that just takes a snapshot of your life, your financial history. It doesn't take, for instance, if I, in the next 6 months, if my business says I have a business and it starts skyrocketing, your credit score doesn't take that into account at that point. It's not generating a detailed, okay, again, every human changes. Your income, your everything, maybe months or years, but the credit score system doesn't take that account. It just takes a snapshot of your life or your financial history, but doesn't give you that detailed account on how your progression in life is going in terms of finances. So the credit score system has a problem itself.
No,
So there's a lot of issue in terms of algorithms here, man. A lot. And
give me one.
that's the problem.
Let me read a couple of these questions real quick inside the chat. Aiken had a good one. He said, and I got it on there. I thought that was interesting. The facial recognition discriminating happened to me when I used to drive Uber. C-Ram said, well, how's that? I was kind of thinking that. And Aiken said, which makes sense. Their facial recognition said I was someone else when it was me driving my car 7 years and it taking a picture in it, right? Because people been getting attacked. So I guess Uber takes a picture so they can really see who's driving the car.
Yeah, before you submit your driver's license, remember?
Yeah.
In Uber, you submit your driver's license information and they even have the picture of your driver's license. So the question is, over the years, your picture will change and
Right.
alteration will change. Are they keeping up with the data, or are they using that past data to make decisions on who's in the car or who's driving or all that good stuff?
Yeah, that's an interesting point because I remember. So I have my very first picture I took when I was I think it was 16 when I took this 16 or 17 when I took this picture on my driver's license, and I didn't have to update the picture when I got a new one, like after I turned 21. So even now I'm 28 years old. I still got the same picture from when I was like 17.
Yeah.
And people look at the picture, like I go into a bar or something, they look at me and they say, "This ain't you." And I'm like, "Yeah, this definitely me." but it was just 11-year difference.
Let me read this quick in the chat real quick. Brother Michael, the U.S. is behind in the policy of data. For example, there's no laws in place for companies to report the government they have been breaching. That news is only known if it's C-RAM. That's true and false. If it's a government agency, you do. A lot of state general attorneys, like B2B said, if you look up CCPA, California has breach laws. I'm in Indiana. We just did breach law. Each state has their own individual breach law, which is crazy. There should be a federal law. So there's some out there. Once again, I did a video on it, but yeah, state general attorneys are doing breach laws for each individual state. It goes everywhere from 24 hours to 21 days that you will have to report. But there's a few out there. Let me see what my
I think that also overlaps with politics as well, because I think what's going on is that they have policies in place federally. It's like, okay, let's let the states handle their individual laws for this. So that I looked it up and it said like 13 states have laws against data collection and how they use that data. But we got 50 states and several territories. So it's like, they all do everything differently.
Then when you do business with those, because I work for companies do business and I'm on security. So now we got to figure, okay, this state has what? Okay, we go into what does New York have? What does the Virginia have? What the Indiana? What does CCPA? So theoretically, you need to figure out which one is the most restrictive, and that'll qualify you for every state. But each state has something that's a little more restrictive than the other one, so it becomes a security nightmare.
In terms of breaches, any company, the most company I'll tell you to be afraid of when you have a breach is Amazon. Any other company, but Amazon has more information about you than you can know. Amazon, if I get enough information on Amazon, I can pinpoint where you are. Pinpoint where you are, your location, your buying habits, what you do. You can pinpoint a lot of stuff with Amazon data. So any other company, yes, but if Amazon gets breached, there's a problem.
Shout out to them. They're a top 5 company, but no, you're right. I always say they're the most dangerous company now. Let me read this one real quick. With how long data is stored for, if those servers meet the prerequisite for the storage device, uh, it doesn't matter, Ty. If they got all that data and they get breached, I mean, the requirements or the prerequisite of the store. Long story short, I do IRS. You got to keep 7 years. I work for a large state. Their chief executive suite, the mayor, they have a FOIA request. They have to keep data for 25 years. So it depends what's industry, state, what you're doing, what type of data it is, what type of regulation. So your data requirements from a security point is we want to delete it quickly as possible. I think engineering cannabis before the billions, they're data people. They want to keep much data as possible. The more data to me is a security issue. Chime in on that, B2B. So,
Yeah, I agree because I brought up this example. I was talking about a project I had to work on, and I had to speak with another team because they were deleting data out of a database, and I was like, "Hey, can we keep track of this data so that way, we know what's going in and out of the database?" And they told me no. I was like, "Wait a second, how I think that's a pretty standard request, to keep track, at least keep a history of everything that's going on. And then when I told my director about it, he sent somebody else to go ask them, and then they finally kept track of it. So it's just one of those things where it's like it's so important for you to be able to keep track of everything, just for like compliance reasons.
Facts. From side for real quick security. If something happened, this called a SIM. It keeps the data warehouse of all the transactions. So if somebody takes the data or sends it overseas or delete it from the bad guy, we need to know what they're deleting so we can tell our compliance we got hacked and these are the things that happen. So, like you said, we need to keep a detailed explanation of that. So, from a security perspective, we need to be doing it. Go ahead, TexRx.
In terms of algorithms, we need as much data again.
I know you was
The
gonna
goal
say
of
that.
machine learning is to
Boo.
have a lot of data. We need again 10, 20 years. I keep a lot. I go insights in terms of looking at patterns for the next. Make sure it's repeatable.
Right.
And I need that data. I mean, 20 years. Again, we have data sets for climate control. We have data sets that go millennia to see from ice to see how the effects of climate change will affect. So that data is gold. It's a telling history of what happened and what might happen. So no, we don't. Data is gold, and it is gold, and it's a very valuable system and a very valuable commodity, basically to tell us where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. So we don't play with that, especially that's gold. I can tell you a lot with insights of data.
But yeah, once again, and I understand it, but but you always got to battle balance security versus the business. So y'all two said y'all need all the data. Security is like, yeah, the more data we have and we get hacked, our fines gonna be astronomical. Go ahead, B2B.
Exactly. I agree with you guys. I think that and as far as like the point about AI, yeah, you need as much data as possible. Because really what it is you want to be able to train the AI model to be as efficient as possible as well. So it's almost in the company's benefit to get as much data as possible, but it's extremely expensive to store it as well.
Well, I don't know. We got Glacier now. I think I don't disagree, but I think Cloud's making it a lot cheaper. Glacier, I mean, until you need it, it'd be like a penny a terabyte, man. It's super cheap. Go ahead.
Yeah, but think about it like this too: is you have data in the cloud, but there's a lot of companies still on premise.
Facts.
So they still have because companies take a long time to be able to get rid of this kind of things. They have processes that go to their on-premise database, then they put it to the cloud, but they still keep a history within on-premise database.
So right now, new way to store it. They're using glass now. Using real glass. Glass to store and encrypt data in glass to actually store it. and it's more. It's the research is great. It's,
So,
it's less just glass and thick glass, and again it's environmental friendly and all that good stuff. But the research
what do
is
you mean
going
by glass? Like, are you
just
talking about
glass,
like literal, like
glass,
literal glass?
literal glass. They inscript, they put data in using data infused the research. It's not even online right now on YouTube. They use glass as a way to store data right now. I mean, terabytes of data, and then the goal now is trying to remove that information from the glass, and basically, how do you get that information back? But the research is brilliant in terms of doing that, and they said that might save. That might be less cost effective to use just glass rather than all the other equipment being utilized now, even cloud. So they're looking at different ways to store data right now in innovative ways. So
Yeah,
the
that's
area of
interesting.
data is growing massively.
Yeah, you know what? And then also we also have blockchain technology as well. All that data. Would
Yeah,
that be? Would that also fall in line with like? Because I heard it's extremely expensive to
it's
have
expensive.
Ethereum.
Yeah, it's expensive. The goal of the blockchain is rather than what blockchain does, what I've been using now, instead of using it I use it as a way for tracking mechanism. Because at that point, for instance, we know algorithms like in YouTube and all that that make decisions on terms of what's being shown or who's being pushed at most. Those algorithms, nobody's going to tell you. No social media site will give you that data or even the algorithm that says, hey, these algorithms are making decisions based on these features or these variables. They're not going to ever tell you. But if you have it on a blockchain, it's now more visible, and you can now do analysis on it and say, okay, hey, we're seeing there's a lot of bias in this, or this, but that would never happen in anytime soon. No company will ever do that because again, litigation. But
Yeah.
what blockchain does is give you that insights in terms of people like Navy Federal or Facebook or YouTube, that
Mhm.
insights on this is how the algorithms are making the decision based on this data. And they can't change it because you can alter it. All you can see is what you have there, and then you can say, okay, you're making this decision based on this. This data is biased. There's a lot of issues in this, and then that
Mhm.
opens them to litigation and again changes. But that would never happen. But that's what
Yeah, because
blockchain. Yeah, that's what blockchain was. That was what I was trying to make sure it's done. Looking into.
mhm. Yeah, even though blockchain, I think that the different cryptocurrencies and stuff is unregulated, so it's kind of like the wild. That's really, I think, the wild west with a lot of these new companies that kind of pop up. But with the data bias, and specifically talk about like Navy Federal, because I know as we were talking about as well, I think that even in that article where they said that from CNN, they said that they had the similar data points between the black and the white barbers, and then they still went with the white barbers over the black barbers. But Navy Federal came back and said that that the report was incorrect. So
But
do you guys believe that, or
but
do you think they're just trying to save themselves?
I
Yeah.
think we have to look at all the other circumstances. Let's look at we are just looking at Navy Federal's problem, but the question, let's look at it bigger. The data that supports inflation and income rate for African Americans out there. Can we draw correlations from that with the bank? Can we say we have how many percent of individuals make 100,000 in the black community? Let's say 8%. Is it 10%?
I think it's closer to 8.
Eight
Eight
percent.
for
Cool.
eight for men. I know it's
Eight
eight for men.
8%. Let's say eight. Let's give it 10%. Now the question is, the median house in the United States is 400,000, and you need approximately 120, 130,000. If 8% of that is making 100,000, so the rest is what? The remaining 90 something percent aren't making that 100,000. So does that match the data, that 44% data that they can afford a $400,000 home? So does that match what's going on out in the real world? That's the correlation we need to ask questions about. These are the data, the insights. These are the questions I'm asking. Is the real economic principles and real economic impacts in the community right now, are we really seeing it in the data we're seeing where 44% of the mortgage are being denied? Is it because those 44% are within the range that don't make 100,000? Those data sets you need to ask.
When you said engineering cannabis, I think about it, and it's the 8% or the 10%, right? It was at 10% for the $100,000 a year for Black people more so. That's such a small number compared to the rest of the population. And then when we're talking about, is it that that the larger majority is not making $100,000 a year?
I remember the mortgage rate, 100,000.
Mhm.
Remember 100, not the 100. For a $400,000 house, you need 100 and something thousand. So
Right.
90% of the population of that. So the question is it really a true? Is Navy Federal really a true representation of what's actually going on, or are we just blowing out of proportion? Are we
Because
supposed? Are we supposed to ask that question? Because we just focus on the bank, but we're not focused on the economic impacts of that, on the economic data, and then correlating those two and saying what's going on. But again, we're not asking about the numbers. We're just going through emotions, but not really asking the numbers.
Because I was watching Tam's live stream on Women in Linux last night, and she was talking about how people need to start making 100 or really six figures, but talking about more so $100,000 a year. And I was saying, well, it kind of really just depends on the location, right? Because when we're talking about $100,000, only a few percentages of people who actually make that much, even in the world, when you really think about it. And then when you see that it's such a small amount of money, a small amount of people who actually make it, like let's say a family that makes $75,000 a year, still not that 100,000, but are they not qualified to be able to make the mortgage payments if they're a family of two or a family of three?
Again, these are questions. Are the 44? These are a lot of questions. That's why I'm saying we need the data to understand. Are the 44% people who got denied, were they married? Did they have enough income? What were the income? Do you again? 77%,
what location?
Location. 77%. Remember, 77% of white people were approved. Next question is, all those 77%, how many of them are making 100,000? How many of them are doing that? What is it based on? But Navy Federal will never give you that data set. They would rather die before they give you that data set.
How many? What percentage do you think of white people would make $100,000 a year?
17% of white men make 100,000.
But again, that's men. Let's say family.
Yep.
The question is the 77%? That's what I'm saying. We need the data. And the 77%, is it data? Is it family oriented?
Is it single people?
Is it single people? What? That's 77%. How many? Again, we say 77%. There's a percentage. Well, how many in terms of the real quantity, not percent, but how many people do they regard as 77%? What is the total number of people that were actually given loans? Not percentage, but total number. Because again, it might be 100 people that were given loans, or 200, and then you break it down. Again, we were just
B2B run this for me. I'm about to step out a minute.
We were giving percentage.
Okay. Yeah.
Remember, we were just giving percentage. We were not giving the numbers. You were not giving if it's 200. You were giving a percentage. I mean, you were not giving the aggregate. Like it's only 40 people or 50. You were just giving percentage. The question is, remove the percentage. If it's 100 people, meaning it's a small sample. And that sample is a true representation of what's going on in the economy.
Yep. And then also, how do they collect this information? Because I know that they look at the IRS. I think the IRS is where they get this information from.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's not to say that there's not more people who actually make more than $100,000 who may not be claiming it.
So again, that's what I always say. go inside the data and dig in and see what's going on. But again, Navy Federal will only give you what they feel like would they again just because of that small data they're already getting lawsuits just because of that just that small data. But imagine if you get a total amount of data and see insights in terms of what did they use to judge it, what variables did they use to judge your mortgage or the 44%, what criteria did they use to judge it. If you go inside, do you know the amount of litigation that might even occur just to get more in-depth insight in terms of the data? They will never want to do that because most companies, if you dig enough into the data, every data set has bias. The goal is in any algorithms, how do you control the bias? How do you make sure the bias is not so overwhelming that it disrupts the whole algorithm itself? And that's the biggest problem. How do we control that bias? How do we put steps in place that these biases don't destroy and have outcomes like 44% and 77%, 44% rejection of African Americans and 77? How do you control those biases? This is just one case scenario in the bank. Imagine what happens when you start pushing it in the medical arena or start pushing it in the real justice system. The bias becomes more compounded. But the question, nobody's asking this. Everybody's keeping quiet and focus on 44%, but nobody's asking why. Are we seeing a true representation of what's happening in the economy? There are more questions than answers right now. Lots of questions and less answers. And all this comes from we need control on what data they're using to make these decisions. We need more people to understand. Why is the NAACP out here asking questions on, okay, we having these problems. Can I see how your algorithms work? And this is not just one bank. This has been going from bank to bank. And nobody's asked that question. You're making decisions on algorithms. We're seeing a lot of disparities around black folks. Can I see the source data? Can I see your algorithms? Can I make statistics? NAACP is not asking that. Everybody's quiet. And this will happen again, until that question is answered. How are these decisions being made? Can I see your algorithm? Can I see your source data? How is this bias being controlled? What are you doing? How are you judging my mortgage loan to his mortgage loan? What criteria are you judging it? Are they the same criteria? Is my color part of the criteria? It might not be your color, but I mean your zip code. And if your zip code is predominantly black folks, is that not a bias?
Mm-hmm. And I think in general, there's always going to be some bias in some
There
in
will
data.
always
Exactly.
bias. But the goal is not to have it so overwhelmingly. It basically disrupts things like this. Most organizations, when they do algorithms, they have ways to say, okay, how do we account for this bias? And how do we make sure it's minimal? There will always be bias because we are judged by a data set that we create. And as we create it, we have bias already in it. There will be bias, but the goal is to control that bias so it's not overwhelmingly so predominantly it disrupts things like mortgage rates. But nobody's asking that question. We're more concerned of the outcome. Okay, it happened with. Then the next question: how can we prevent this not happening again? Again, you've not seen NAACP come out and saying, "Hey, we need to look at this." You've not seen anybody coming out and say, "We need to understand what you're doing with these algorithms." You've not seen any of it. What we're concerned about, there's a 44% disparity, and what they will do is, hey, we're going to do a program for the black folks, and the program is going to give everybody a lower percentage, and that's it. And we smile and we move on. Then it happens again, and again,
and again,
and again.
Yeah, I find it interesting because, so let's say this, right? That we know that there's going to be bias, but we don't want it to be overwhelmingly affecting things. Could we put policies in place to prevent something like this from happening?
Yes. That's what's going on. We need policies, we need monitoring policies, we need lots of checks and balances. We don't have that. If imagine we had in the justice system, in order to control bail, we had an algorithm that controls who gives bills, the amount of bail people get, and at one point the bias crept in. Now we have black people paying more in bail than a white person. They have to shut that down. Don't you see there's a problem?
Yeah.
Justice system put in an algorithm that controls bail, and we saw over time there was a disparity in it. And nobody asked the question, what happened to that? Nobody
No,
asked the question, are we going to implement it somewhere else? I've seen algorithms, I've been researching algorithms. I'm seeing algorithms pop up in different police stations in terms of making decisions on criminal activities. You have New York City deploying cameras everywhere. What do you think is going to happen when these cameras start spotting people saying this individual might be a criminal? And you already know facial algorithms are biased because they don't monitor stages of growth when your face change. So how are they going to say you're the criminal? Again, we are. Again, I love AI. I love deploying it. I love reading about it. I love doing everything. But I also see the hidden problems in it, especially for us, that nobody's talking about. That we don't have pure representation. I mean, I looked through a Senate hearing, and I keep repeating it, a Senate hearing on algorithms and the deploying of algorithms in health, in banking. And I didn't see any representation of us in there. And they were talking about billions of dollars of these are going to be billions or trillions of dollars. But none of us were in there. None of us asking us, okay, you're making decisions based on what? Education. An algorithm will be employed for education. So are my kids going to be taught by an algorithm? The question is, what training data sets are you going to be using to train the algorithm that's going to teach my child? Is it the same one that's going to teach the kid that's going to Harvard? Are the same algorithms going to be utilized in the same one? Or are they going to make the algorithm that's going to teach a kid from another neighborhood more explicit, more data friendly? Basically, all the ones that I'm going to teach are going to be restrictive. These are questions nobody's asking, but we are quick to use ChatGPT quickly, but not ask the question, how is this created? What are they doing?
You know, with with OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, some of the things that they say on their website is pretty interesting, such as they don't speak to like the shareholders. They talk to they have a responsibility to the human race. They'll like say some stuff like that, which is I don't know. It's
It's
coming from a
BS.
company. Yeah, coming from a company
It's
just
not
didn't make
true.
sense.
It's
No.
at the end of the day, it's profit.
Right.
ChatGPT, I mean, they're moving in such a way. I started looking at the generative AI system, even the robotics. You know, Elon Musk just brought out last week or this week the new Gen robot.
I'm doing
You
that.
know,
I'm doing that. I'm doing that Tuesday. I'm doing
but
that
the
Tuesday.
funny part is, have you seen the trend?
The
You see,
trend.
Amazon brought a robot. Facebook
Yep.
has a robot.
Everybody got a robot. Facts. Facts.
Um, Disney got a robot.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody got a robot. The question is, who should be afraid? The guy because I was laughing because in Amazon video, you saw the individual who they're going to take their job training the robot.
Facts.
There were two people there, two sets of people, the programmers and the individual they're going to take their job from were actually training their replacement. You were training, there was someone helping train their replacement, the robot. So my
Facts.
question is, we have a lot of stuff AI, it's advancing quick. But are we as a community, are we keeping up with that? Or are we just playing? Because I'm seeing a lot of fast moving parts in this in ways you can. When I say I'm seeing fast moving, I'm like, and the funny part is when I'm going to these type of stuff, I only see few black folks. Like B2B is the only data engineer I've seen talking in this platform.
Facts.
And don't you think there's a problem?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of been going back and forth with because we were on the panel. I think you were in the chat. I was up there. Shout out to Keep It Techie. I was there. Gabe, you was in the chat. We asked each of us. We were the only one in our class, and I graduated in 1990. So if I'm the only one, and B2B's the only one, and Gabe's the only one, and Keep It Techie's the only one, and you're the only one, are we getting any better? That's the question. I like. The answer is no.
So what decisions do we make? Are we going to leave again? Is this what it is? Everybody complains AI is taking it, but AI is mathematics. Believe me,
Facts.
AI is mathematics.
Facts.
And programming, fine, but mostly the baseline of AI is mathematics. But are we going to avoid this and allow this to take over what we do and not understand the baseline of it? Nobody's asking. When the issue came out with Navy Federal, nobody asked that question. What made that decision? What is going on? Let me see that data. And if it was so bad, NAACP could have gone in and sued them and said, hey, we need that data. We need more insights.
But they're in the pockets of big companies now, so they.
So the question is, are we just going to be there being railroaded by companies, making decisions based on algorithms, based on what we do? Marketing agencies are now using algorithms to make decisions based on your data sets, on what you watch, what you drink, what you do on a daily basis. Then they classify you, most of the classification, classify you based on all these and your zip code, and say these individuals are most likely to drink this kind of liquor, eat these kind of food, and do this. Let's just build one stop shop for them to get all these. They don't need fresh food. We've classified them as this.
Right.
Don't you see how messed up that is?
Give me 1 second. Let me read a couple of these chats in here. Shout out to my man from Brazil. I think I'm gonna go from the top from there. He said Brazil's now debating on the topic. Let's see. C-Ram said, what's up? Keep it techie. City of Apollo had a intense debate about facial recognitions on the subway. I think the United States giving up on that. We looked at making a change like we control movement and the justices for us, and this is not seeing many Black people support that system. Let's see. Once again, he said, Brazil, there's the debate about algorithmic racism. So, no, that's facts. We just roll that up in the bias, but that's it. C-Ram had an interesting question. He said, I'm back in the university studying cyber management and policies. And this question said to me, which I don't really know, how does one get into cyber policy? I think that's mostly for NIST and when you work for the government. Now, they usually post those and they ask for everybody to comment on the policies. But usually when you see that you're working for NIST or the Biden's executive order just came out for AI. So they had a lot of policy frameworks for there. So I think you really have to get into that government framework to get into those type of policies. Now, most companies have their policies, but once again, when they come from the Fed policies, most of the state follow it. If you're trying to do work, then you jump in on the cyber policy. But see, Ram, I need to actually think about that. But I think you need to, once again, work in for that government high level. What's your take on that policy? You ever thought about that, Tech RX, with the cyber policy coming from the Fed or the United States?
The funny part is Biden's AI system law will create a lot of jobs, especially within policy, because now in the mandate he states that companies have to have responsibilities in terms of creating responsible AI algorithms. Now the question is, they're going to have to create not only a regulation board, but a lot of jobs dealing with policy in terms of ethical AI, in terms of even data engineering. I promise you, in data engineering, you're going to see a lot of policies in there. A lot of policies in terms, again, not only how much you keep, in terms of the quality of that, a lot of jobs are going to be created in terms of AI. And I mean jobs in terms of ethics, consulting, a lot of jobs, because the realm of AI and data is expanding now. Now there's going to be a lot of pathways, but the policy arena is open. You're going to have cybersecurity policy, AI policy, ethics policy, guidance. You're going to have a lot, especially within the government and private. Google will start hiring people who look at the ethics in their algorithms. Navy Federal will start looking at data governance, data ethics. Everybody's going to start looking at it. Once you deploy an algorithm, you will hire a team of people who look at ethical utilization, data storage, ethical data storage. Everything will be just trying to basically, once you deploy an algorithm, that's what the mandate will do. So the opportunities are endless. But the question is, you have to understand all this. You have to understand how data engineering works, the ETL movement. You have to understand how data lakes work. You have to understand SQL. You have to understand all that. Not only that, you have to understand how algorithms work, how to deploy the algorithms. You have to understand. Sometimes you just understand how the source data is gotten, how the source data is. There's a lot of processes in terms of data and creating an algorithm and understanding what the algorithm does at the end of the day.
No, facts. Let me get this question from Ty. He said, does Graham Leach Briley hinder data sharing? No, it actually just tells you have to be secure, and it tells you the frameworks to actually share data. So Ty, I think it actually does the opposite. The government back ends want them to share data because the banks behind the system is one government kind of network. So I think they're really working together from that. I do a little Graham Leach Bliley work, so I'm familiar with that. It's kind of weak from a security standpoint. Fababino, I know I messed your name up. How you doing, man? Can you hear me? I can't hear you. Sometimes you got to switch your input and output depending on what device you're using. I see you, but I can't hear you. And I had that happen with a couple people. Yeah. Oh, he dropped down. Let's see. Let me read this paragraph real quick, TechRX. They call it a promising tool. Rite Aid, afflicted with financial loss in recent years, not the only retailer that adopts financial recognition. 2 years ago, the Loss Prevention Research Council, a coalition founded by retailers to test anti-crime techniques called facial recognition, a promising new tool worthy of evaluation. There are a handful of retailers that have made this decision. Look, we need to leverage tech to sell more and lose less, said the council director. The Camp Hill company based that they operates over 2,400 stores around the country. Home Depot said it had been testing facial recognition to reduce shoplifting in at least one of its stores, but stopped the trial this year. A smaller rival, Menards, piloted it in at least 10 locations as early as 2019. Walmart was looking at it. It also tried facial recognition in a handful of stores. Walmart and Menards had no comment. Using facial recognition to approach people who previously have committed dishonest acts in a store before they do it again is less dangerous for staff. Rite Aid former Vice President of Assets said, who made the decision to deploy an earlier facial recognition system at Rite Aid. That way, there was a significant less need for law enforcement in the involvement. And said, obviously, that went left.
See the tougher neighborhood? They say tougher neighborhood. What does that mean?
I missed that.
The tougher neighborhood? See, tougher neighborhoods? What does that mean?
You know what it means. You know what it means. I missed that.
What does that mean? See where the biases come in?
Yeah, it is. A lot of it's just implicit, built-in, institutionalized.
So the question is, what does that mean? So if I collect their data and say, based on this data, I'm seeing a lot of black folks in the zip code. Do you mean that these are tougher neighborhoods?
There it is, right there, big, right there. I didn't even see
What
it.
does that mean? Tougher neighborhood.
Let me read it. I'm gonna read that paragraph. Let's see. I'm gonna read it real quick. Let's see. It's in bold too. The tougher name. In an interview with 10 current former Rite Aid loss prevention agency, they told Reuters the system they initially used in the store was from a company called Face First, which was backed by a U.S. investment firm that regularly misidentified people. All 10 of them. Wow. It doesn't pick up black people well, one loss prevention staffer said last year while using Face First at Rite Aid in an African American neighborhood of Detroit. There's your tougher neighborhood. If your
So
eyes, hold on, let me keep going. I got a couple. If your eyes are the same way, if you're wearing your headband like another person or wearing a headband, you're going to get a hit. The First Face chief executive, Peter Trapp, said financial recognition generally works well irrespective of skin tone, an issue he said the industry addressed years ago. He declined to talk about Rite Aid, saying he would not discuss any possible clients. Rite Aid originally piloted Face First at his store on West 3rd Street in Los Angeles, a large Asian and Latino neighborhood around 2012. Go ahead and chime in on that.
so see. This is a bad. The question is, I'm going to look at that data set and see. Nah, that's not right. Because you knew it had a problem, but yet you still deployed in tougher neighborhoods.
Tougher neighborhoods.
What that? I'm going to look at that data set in terms of what that means. Because if you see all that, you ask the question: how do you define tougher neighborhood?
Oh, they defined it. It's right there on the screen. We got the below poverty households and census blocks and the non-white households.
That's see how messed up that is.
they don't even know they telling on themselves.
See how messed up it is. You see how the bias is already in there.
There it is. There it is, right there. The tougher. Oh, look at this.
See,
tougher, toughest, or worse areas. So
how do they define that? That's my question. How are they defining that?
I'm gonna let you look at the data set and come back and let us know on your
How
channel.
are you defining this? The messed up stuff I'm seeing. But these are questions. Look, see, nobody's asking these questions. Everybody's like, oh, these are the questions. Who defines tougher, toughest, and worse? What are the data sets that define this? Is it zip code? Is it amount of crime? Is it crime from police station? Is it theft crime? What defines tougher, toughest, and worse? This is some messed up stuff.
That's why they got in trouble pretty much. Like he said, it's just crazy.
But again, nobody's NAACP. Everybody sees this article and said, man, this is going to happen again. And it will continue happening, and we're going to continue accepting it till you say it's enough.
Let me read that part down there. It said the 65 stores retailer target for the first big rollout. 52 were in the largest group was Black or Latinos, according to Rite Aid. From 2013, they read a loud report by someone that accesses. Reuters confirmed that some of these stores later deployed the technology, but could not confirm its presence. Separately, two former Rite Aid manager and a third source familiar with the Face First rollout said systems were concentrated respectively in the tougher, toughest, or worst areas. 2017, the spreadsheet from the company Asset Protection Unit, 20 high-earning Manhattan stores as having equal risk of loss labeled mid to high. 2 of the 10 stores were white, with the largest racial group had facial recognition technology. Reuters visit this year, whereas 8 of the 10 in non-white areas had the system. One 80%. Spot, was mid to high with stores in Columbia Avenue, New York. Yeah, so there's your bias. I mean, your data 80%. Set. Go ahead.
80%. 80% in black neighborhood. That's a problem.
Yeah, that's huge. That don't look right, man. So, but we always know the data sets was going to be an understanding. So yeah, it's just, it's the data set. And once again, we know facial recognition is problematic at best. So I'm sure they're going to try to work the bugs out. So that's pretty much all I got. Let's see, is there anything else I want to hit? Oh my God, it's still rolling. Let's see. Somebody filed a lawsuit. This guy looks nothing like me. Samuel Jackson, 34, who was ultimately allowed to make his purchase and leave the store. Rite Aid only identified me because I was a person of color. The California department told him his complaint fell outside his purview, directing him to another state official. Email records show instead he decided to write the store a bad review on Yelp. Rite Aid and a manager was allegedly he was involved in the decline of comment. One store writers visited, the security agent scrolled through the face first alerts, saw a number of cases where the faces were obviously mismatched, including a black man mixed up with someone who was Asian. That Reuters could not determine whether the incorrect matches resulted in confrontation with the customer. So that lets you know your data set was way off. Go ahead and chime on that, man. I'll let you chime in on that.
Data sets were messed up. Everything just messed up. So we just need to basically do better. We need to learn better.
No,
and I'm about to drop off, but
okay,
it's a good. Thanks for everything, and yeah, more of this is gonna come. I promise you're gonna have more stories like this coming up.
No, 100%.
You're gonna be reporting more. So this is just the beginning. So we need to get serious about this. And 2024 coming, so it's gonna be serious.
No, most definitely. No, thanks for coming up. I appreciate you. I definitely gonna get you in for an interview. There he is, my man, AI and ME. Go check out his channel. He does this mostly on his channel. So I just touch on, especially from a cybersecurity perspective. So from a cybersecurity perspective, when you roll out new implementations of facial recognition, number one, you have to test it. You have to get it right. You have to start in a small sample size. You got to test it among different types of people. Or two is like Reuters, you're gonna end up in a lawsuit, right? That's what my man said here. If you look into the chat, I got the LinkedIn. So now they got a new system. I'm not gonna even read the new system. So you're talking about the demographics, non-white population rolling, but facial recognition is gonna be ingrained into. We can't have the China connection. I think into the United States, it's much easier to surveil people like China, third world countries. You can identify people, you can track them, right? But two, you gotta do it in a respectful way, and obviously you can't have this many false positives in there, right? Because let's be realists. You don't catch bad guys by accident. You don't catch terrorists by accident. So you use technologies like this. You just got to use them appropriately, right, for that particular task. And shout out to my man. I know he was coming up. He said Brazil is, they're really talking about it now, debating it. And I think that's the reason President Biden put his AI bill out there, because it's becoming a hot topic, here also. So let's see what my man Casual Economist said. Good afternoon, BBL. Salute. I appreciate you. So let's get in. I'm going to drop the link. I'm about wrapping it up. That's about an hour and a half for me. So once again, I did a little better on LinkedIn. So I'm trying to multicast it, both of those. But once again, so you see me. So I'm doing Elon Musk robot. I might do that sometime this weekend, or probably Tuesday. What's the security implication of having a robot walking around your house and recording everything you do, right? There's some issues with that. So we definitely gonna go over there. Definitely gonna get into the NIST and the GRC, governance, risk, and compliance. Gonna start definitely doing those videos, growing my channel up. A lot of people ask me where the membership is, so we're gonna get that started. Get some classes in the membership. So getting everybody hopefully get that bag in 2024. Once again, shout out to B2B. I dropped his link in the chat. Shout out to AIME, aka Engineering Cannabis. Glad he showed up. Shout out to my man Ty for coming up. I don't know if it was his phone or my setup. I know him personally, so we might go offline and I might have him shoot it to me, and we're working in on the back end. So next time he can be successful. Shout out to my man for Brazil. I know he was trying to come up. So it's weird. One of my best friends is from Brazil. He's trying to get me to come to Brazil. It's his wife went, and she said it was a little dangerous. So I'll probably go. Shout out to them. He keeps inviting me to Brazil. So that's definitely on my list. Shout out to the Passport Bros. I'm a little too old for that game, but shout out to the Passport Bros. So once again, if you need me, ProfessorBlackOps@gmail.com. You go to my About page. You will see my email. Once again, I shout out to everybody for joining me. I'm gonna go live. You see my content I put out. I try to do a hack every other day there. So I mean, the two is I'm gonna start getting back on my AWS Live and combining that with GRCs. What does that mean is when you do a shout out to Aiken. So when you set up your AWS, you set up your VPCs, you set up your networking. I know there's a lot of CNNAs or Network Plus guys in there. When you set up your subnets, you set up your VLANs, that has to meet approval from one, like we said, HIPAA, FISMA for DOD. I do a lot of IRS Pub 1075. So when you do the setup in IRS, you have to pass that federal compliance. I play in a big federal game. So once again, Professor Black Ops, everybody has a happy holiday. Hope everybody gets some rest. I am burnt out. 2023 was not good to me. But let's get it. Once again, reach out to me if you need anything. Shout out to most people here. They always here. I appreciate you. Once again, have a nice